¿Cómo me veo, Rafita?
Elegante.
Eso parece muy bien.
Elegante se ve.
Awesome. So we're live.
We are live. Well, thank you very much for coming. This is the first of hopefully many events, that we want to do here in Lake Nona. Juan Santos, Senior Vice President of Innovation and Branding of Lake Nona, has been very gracious to co-host this with me as, like I said, the first of many. And the idea here is to bring the community together on the topic of innovating communities, right? And Juan, of course, has a long history, long track record with this, especially here in Lake Nona for the past several years. So I'd like for you to introduce yourself and let's get started with the conversation.
Sure. So as Rafael said, I'm Juan Santos, and I lead brand experience and innovation. This is something we've actually been doing for a while. We have done it a little bit less formally, though. So we're trying to make it more of a sustainable series. So one of the ideas that we have for Lake Nona is to make it a place where innovation can flourish, right? The whole idea is that we try very, very hard to make this an ideal place for an idea or a family or a company to flourish. And for that to happen, we work very hard in removing obstacles and making this a great place for those things to happen. Part of that is making sure we have a full innovation ecosystem. And part of what we're doing here is precisely that. I mean, as you mentioned, this is one of many of the series. We've probably been doing this for about 2.5 years now, but it was very informal, to say the least. So we're trying to put a little bit more structure to it, while at the same time retaining kind of like the elements that made it fun. But yeah, Juan Santos with innovation for Lake Nona.
Yes, and just to be clear, because Juan is from Colombia, I am from Panama. So the informality of how we used to do it, we just threw a party here in this space. And maybe 130 people would show up. We will have music. But there was also a good opportunity for people to coexist in a space. It's not a restaurant, it's not a bar, it's not a club, it's just an open space in the middle of an accelerator incubator for startup companies, where even though there's music and there's food and things to share, there's entrepreneurs, there's business owners, there are professionals across the board exchanging ideas. So this allows us to do this now, like you said, a little bit more formal, where we do something like this, a little bit more serious, and then the party afterwards.
Yeah, we'll continue doing the party.
So back to your point of creating an ecosystem that is conducive to innovation. What are some of the key elements that you guys have put in place to make that a reality for the entrepreneurs that are coming into Lake Nona?
Okay. Look, entrepreneurship is something that happens at every level. So this is something that I think is a good start for that answer. This space that we're right here is actually it has multiple names. It's the Verizon 5G Innovation Hub. It's the Lead Sport and Health Tech Accelerator. It's also called MS2. And I think it's a good petri dish of what we're trying to do. In order to make innovation something that is fueling Lake Nona, we want to make it an opportunity for companies to actually interact with each other. That's one of the things that we're doing in a way that's, I think, different from other places, at least where I've done business with. This specific space that we have here, as a matter of fact, showcases a Fortune 20 company with Verizon, and this is their 5G testing environment. And at the same place, you actually have companies that are in the seed stage of their startup journey, right? And they interact with each other. So part of what we do to create this ecosystem that actually allows for innovation to happen is we build room for big companies to be here with the things that they normally require, but also for startups and companies that are in a different state of their journey or a different size to actually coexist into the same system and to continuously collaborate with folks that are from all varieties of environments. We have multiple examples of how that's happened here. The other thing that we do to make sure that innovation happens is we try very hard to remove friction, right? And I think that's one of the things that we've been focused on. And removing friction from a technology and innovation perspective means that we have an ecosystem where we have readily available fiber to every home, every apartment, every business, right? We have millimeter wave 5G, indoor and outdoor. We have, we work very hard to make sure that all the cell phone carriers are represented. And then we also have a data infrastructure that actually allows us to collect and connect environments to each other. So it's a little bit easier for a company to do business here, right? And that's really what we're trying to do. Our role as as Lake Nona is not necessarily to be the creators of innovation. We participate in that a little bit. There are some things that we do that are innovative, but it's mostly to create this environment where innovators can be here and can make their ideas realities. And we really rely on that. Innovation is a I always say it's a scarce nutrient because once you put it out there, it's no longer innovative. It lasts very little. So you have to continually be doing things in the innovation journey to make it sustainable, make it something that actually works.
And along those lines, I mean, location matters. We happen to be at a great location here.
Yeah.
If any of you spend any time on a day like today, or maybe a day like yesterday, and you go across the street to Chroma and just sit at the bar and strike a conversation with a perfect stranger, you will find out that it's probably somebody who was here for meetings from somewhere around the world, had meetings all week, is waiting for the next flight tomorrow. So we have a very transient community here that gets to interact with the various businesses that are looking to do business here and be here on a more permanent basis. How do you see that translated into the families that are already here established or that are looking to establish themselves in Lake Nona?
Let me break that in two. So it is a great place, right? Orlando, and this came to a surprise to me. I'm not originally from here. I've been here in Lake Nona for almost 7 years now. Orlando is the most visited city in the planet, right? It's actually 20% more or so than New York, and it's really staggering to think that we have something like 78 million visitors that actually come to a city that has a significantly smaller population. So it is an environment where there's a lot of people coming, and a lot of them are coming for things that people expect, like they're coming for tourism, for the parks. A lot of them are coming for conventions. Orlando is the number one or number two convention destination in the U.S. It depends on what time of the year you look at it with Las Vegas. So you have that. At the same time, we have a place in Lake Nona that has, 25,000 people that live here. We have, in this building, we have apartments that are 360 square meters. We have micro apartments, and then we have very large homes in the Lake Nona Golf Country, spanning a very broad range of opportunities for people to be here. And because we are connected to the airport, the airport's right here. It takes about 8 minutes or 9 minutes to go to the airport from here. And I wouldn't suggest that people do this, but it takes about 25 minutes to get to the gate of the plane. If you have a TSA pre, don't please pay attention to whatever they tell you and
I do it all
get
the
there
time.
in the time. But I have
Living
done it.
dangerously.
I have done it a couple of times. So you're in this place that's incredibly connected, while at the same time providing a good place for families to thrive. Right in Laureate Park, which is one of our neighborhoods right here, you have community gardens. You have home design that allows groups of people in their block and in their community to interact. You have people that are, all the doors are very close to the curb, so that you actually have a community that fosters kind of like collaboration. So, we think that in those two things, an area that has the possibility for high visitation, but at the same time, a place where people can live in a variety of different ways, we find a good medium point, right? Where you have a good place for your family and a good place for your business, because you have both sides. You have the high visitation and the, I guess, more family friendly environment.
And on top of that, it's in Orlando, but it doesn't feel like Orlando because of the design and the architecture of the house. Everything has been laid out, right? So if I drop you here blindfolded, you may not be able to guess that you're in Orlando.
At
Because
least not in the stereotypical idea that people have of Orlando, right? Orlando people have this idea in their minds, and it's a great idea. It usually means fun and vacation. And, there may be a mouse or two in that imaginarium that people have, but it's also it's also very different. Actually, the campaign for the city before it was you don't know the half of it. That's what the ad campaign was, and half the people don't know is, things like Lake Nona, things like University of Central Florida being one of the largest schools in the country, the second largest school in the country. The fact that they graduate a ton of aerospace engineers. It's not really what people have in their mind about it.
Speaking of UCF, right here, most people also don't know that you have right here in Laurier Park, you have Lake Nona Elementary, Lake Nona Middle School, Lake Nona High School, and then the School of Medicine of UCF is right here, and
Yep.
soon the School of Nursing. There you go. Yeah, we have some folks in the School of Medicine, so you can actually go from kindergarten to an MD
Yeah, actually,
without ever living here. Not, I don't know if that's attractive or not, but it sounds kind of cool.
MD or PhD, because we also have UF. University of Florida has a pharmacology degree. You can do an MD PhD too. So no one has done it yet. The MD, the pre-K to PhD. Uh, there is one person that we know of that is Lake Nona Elementary that is in pre-med right now. If they do go on to get their MD or PhD, we may have said that we will name a street after them, which it's one of the advantages of having kind of like a city where you get to decide those things. And they'll be in good company because in Laureate Park, which is a neighborhood that's right here, all the streets are named after Nobel Prize. So it's not a bad gauntlet. Go from pre-K to PhD or MD in Lake Nona, and we'll give you a street.
Oh, that's great. So we are right now in what it's named Medical City. So there's obviously a theme associated with medicine, health, and technology. Talk a little bit, talk to us a little bit about that in the spirit of that, but also talk about the fact that that's not all that happens here, because it doesn't mean that other companies and other entrepreneurs that operate outside that are not welcome.
Yeah. And look, the medical and well-being portion of Lake Nona is an important part of the genesis of Lake Nona. So when if you had come here about 16 years ago, you would have found almost nothing, right? But through a lot of work with our state and our city uh, government, we were able to get the VA to open what's the busiest VA in the nation. School of Medicine with UCF, you have the Nemours Children's Hospital. So there was high concentration of people in the early Lake Nona that were focused on health. And that's something that's continuing to happen. As you say, we have UCF starting their School of Nursing, right, in the environment as well. Now, that's kind of like one of the forces, right? We also have a large contingent of folks that are what we call human performance. Human performance is, I mean, there's no secret. If you train, you get better at what you do, right? That's not rocket science. So we have a place like the USTA here, which is the largest tennis campus in the world, where it's probably one of the greatest tennis facilities on the planet. And at the same time, you have companies like KPMG that have their training center. So we have a strong group of companies on health and well-being. We have a strong group of companies on, let's call it, human performance, and we have another group of companies in aerospace, right? You know, in both, kind of like the flying and then the space part of the equation. If you look around us, you have people that are in the simulation business. We have a brand new state-of-the-art simulation facility. You have companies like Signature Aviation or the NATA, which are in the operations and logistics. And then, if you step outside or if you go on top of this building, you can see roof images. And we actually have companies in this space that are working in actually space-related activities. So if you think about health and well-being, human performance, and then this environment we've called an aerotropolis, it's an airport and a city. Um, those are kind of like the like three big forces, and then they're powered by education and by technology. Those are kind of like the pieces that actually make it happen. And we're education obsessed. I mean, they're really focused on that side, and then we try very hard in making sure that we have a great environment for technology to take hold and to be used by people every day.
But also, in addition to that, I mean, you mentioned earlier that as a developer
Yeah.
of the community, that your main role is just to facilitate innovation, but you're doing some innovation yourselves too. I mean, the Wave Hotel is an example of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we get to practice what we preach a little bit.
Mhm.
So, I mean, for the ones that have not visited, it's a great hotel that's located about 2 blocks from this facility. It's a unique concept because it marries invisible technology with comfort. Right? The idea is that you can have this space that is a very comfortable, very beautiful hotel with great art, and then there's technology behind the scenes. Like the glass for the building is view glass, which is actually like transition lenses for a building. It filters um, it filters infrared and ultraviolet light, so that you're actually able to have better sleep, less migraines. It actually is a lot easier for us to heat to cool or heat the hotel. Not a lot of heating in Florida. We have to do it sometimes because we have this windows that are able to do that. And then it's a lot of it provides a comfort level to people that are in the room because it allows you to change the amount of light. Now that's one piece, right? At the same time, we also have you know we have something that everyone remarks when they come is we have Japanese style washlets. So instead of toilets, we have smart toilets. The seat opens, and they clean themselves, and they
And they talk to you and all
not
that.
not they actually did have a feature originally where you could actually have them play sound. It's called comfort noise, but it we took that off. We turned that off. It's a little bit unsettling, at least for us right now. But it's actually the largest installation of smart toilets in a hotel anywhere in the U.S. Um, but behind the scenes, you also have technology, for example, in the water management system that allows us to run twin environments to actually heat water, and we actually have a monitoring system on the pipes that actually uses electrical pulses to dislodge any buildup that you have from crystals in the environment. It's monitored all the time, and because the system runs on a twin system, we're able to manage pressure and manage heat. And no one needs to know this. I mean, all these things are invisible. The glass, the pipes, the toilets are not. People send pictures to each other about it because it's not common for us. And then it's in the context of an environment that's very interesting, right? There's little touches like there's 3 elevators that connect the lobby to the rooms. Each elevator has different music because it's the same doing different music than doing the same music. It was a very small change, but it allows you to have a different experience. Every elevator is different, so you get a little bit of a different experience. So we innovate in areas like that. Uh, we innovate in parking garages, which apparently it's not something that I was aware of. That how different I mean, I felt it as a user. Those garages that you park and you never are able to find your car again is like the twilight zone. It's because they're made it's like a helix that goes one like this and don't match. The garages here are flat. You can find your car. You're parking on level. You're done with light concrete so that it actually light colored, so you can actually have a very bright experience. So we try to innovate in those areas with partners. We work with great architecture and great engineering firms to help us do that. But those things are small compared to the innovation that companies like KPMG or the guys at NewView behind the curtain that are working on satellite based lidar. I mean, they're doing heavy lifting. I mean, toilets, satellites. I don't know.
Oh, but it's important. You've mentioned a couple of things there that lead. There's an element of beautification. Right? You mentioned the parking garages. Typically, a parking garage is the ugliest part of an area, but you actually took some care of using some innovation there and some artistry to make it blend a little bit better.
That's something that we focused a lot on. So uh, Tavistock has this idea from our leadership that talks around turning negatives into positives. Normally, when you build a garage, people build something around it called a liner building. which is a object that is meant to light the garage so that you can see it. A building to hide a building. Uh, it's it works, but it also creates environments that are difficult for people to actually traverse because then the blocks get too big. The parking garage that we have across the street, it's actually in the middle of like general like a little plaza that we have there called the Beacon Plaza. So to make it beautiful, we actually partnered with Jeffrey, which is a local artist. He happens to be a Lake Nona resident, and he created this zeros and ones cladding, which is actually binary code, and it's actually decodable binary code. Uh, I hear that someone at UCF made some students decode it as part of the as part of their kind of like assignment. But it actually works. You get 8 bits, it turns into a byte. You go to ASCII, 65, and then you're able to decode the garage, and it says things like innovation and collaboration. Um, and then, the stairs for the garage are a 7-story high cylinder that's projection mapped that was actually inspired by an old-fashioned steps. And it has projections at night, and it looks really pretty. So suddenly you have a garage that's at the center of kind of like a plaza. Actually, if you go into the hotel that's across the street and you ask for a view, they give you a garage view because it's a really pretty view of the garage. And all the garages have a language theme. So this one's binary. The one in front of the Wave Hotel, it's Braille. It's actually celebrating the language that has helped, people that cannot see or cannot see well to read. We actually have a touchable version of it in the first floor, so that you can actually experience it if you don't have, if you don't have the visual acuity to be able to see it. And then the one that's by the Lake Nona Performance Club is actually the DNA code of the Valencia Orange. So language for life, language for computers, language for the blind. No one needs to know, right? It's a circus garage, zeros and ones, the one with the pretty color bars. But in creating those environments, we build a place that's anchored in detail and where, you don't lose your car because you'll remember kind of like the salient features of the garage. But at the same time, you're creating something that is that's cool. It's Instagrammable.
And it's also there's an element of sustainability too, because trying to get that look and feel without those lineups, which are
Yeah.
costly, and time consuming, and resource heavy. It's a theme that's across the community here of sustainability is something that's very important, which also again requires innovation to be sustainable in this day and age.
We are, we're trying to be as sustainable as possible. I'll use one example. The most Instagrammed object in Lake Nona is there's a building that has little color squares that says Lake Nona, right? And people go and they use it as a background for Instagram. It's a pretty cool background for Instagram. It's actually a chiller plant. So it's actually an industrial AC. It's a very large air conditioning device that provides cold water to the other buildings in a centralized manner, which is more energy efficient than doing it in individual small machines. So it's there. People haven't seen it, but they've taken pictures of it and they've posted it. We also we've worked with companies like Beep to implement electric transportation into the community because we wanted to add a little bit of a twist to it. It's also autonomous, the electric transportation, and today we have the largest and longest running autonomous shuttle program in the U.S. Have been running for many years, and I always joke that, and this is true. Like 3 years ago, we had a kid dress up as one of the Beeps for Halloween. He took a cardboard box, turned it into a Beep. But once you have a costume,
It's a thing.
yeah, it's no longer innovative, right? For a resident, seeing a bus that drives around on its own should be the same. As that's something usual. And you do that in the context of a great city like Orlando, that has, both the notoriety and the international scope that it has, and it becomes a great place for companies like Beep and others to actually call home and connect with youths.
So in addition to that, you're also being conscious about the environment. I mean, Lake Nona, as you mentioned, is about 17 square miles
Yeah,
an area, which is about 80% of what Manhattan is. Manhattan is somewhere around 22, just to kind of provide. But there's a large percentage of that
yeah.
that is not going to be built.
Approximately 40% of the space is conservation. There's about 45 miles worth of trails. It's continuously growing, um, and we're trying to do more and more. We have a home in the neighborhood called the WIT, which is the Wellness Home Built in Innovation and Technology. And in the exterior part of the WIT, we're testing a planting palette that actually uses significantly less water. Um, so we're trying to be as responsible a citizen as we can, and doing things like that, lower water utilization, planting pallet is part of that.
Well, and that's interesting. I'm glad that you brought that up because the idea, or one of the ideas behind the Whit House was, I've heard you, give this speech many times, is when you go buy a house, people typically go and say, I want 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, 1 floor, 2 floors. But seldom people ask for, I want a house that allows me to sleep better, or I want a house that allows me to cook
Mhm.
better, or eat better, or be more health conscious. And that's one of the anchors of that particular place.
Yeah. It's meant to be a living lab precisely for that, to figure out what happens if you actually add well-being to the program for building a house, and that includes the garden outside. I want a garden that provides some food, but at the same time takes less water, right? And I I think that's probably a good place to go back to what we're doing here. The WIT is one of our many living labs, right? We have this idea that Lake Nona is a living lab where you can test these ideas, and we are continuously testing autonomous mobility with people. We are working with how do you create environments where you can actually live a life that's connected to well-being better with where we work with our partners to focus on sleep, on food, on a variety of things. And then you also have places like this, which is a living lab where we have, companies that are working at the intersection of sports, health, and technology, and trying to figure out what's the next stage from that.
And that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So I want to open up for questions. There is a Q&A. I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments that they want to. Welcome. Latino population showing up. Love it. If anybody has any questions for Juan, I can keep going, but I want to get you guys involved. Anybody?
I guess I have a question, Juan. So, in ref, all right. So, I guess in terms of innovation and technology, what is the next project coming up that is your?
Oh, that's pretty good. So right now we have. So the question what's the next project that has us excited? We have I think two areas of projects that are very exciting. One of them is we are working on a new art installation that uses light um, to create a new. There's tons of art in Lake Nona, and we're doing this art installation that is going to be very interesting, and it's going to be responsive, and it has this beautiful kind of like connection of nature and light. I'm very excited about that. And then um, our residents are very excited about something called Lake Nona West, which is it's a shopping mall that's happening here in Lake Nona. We'll bring some of the things that people are looking for outside of Lake Nona from a shopping perspective. That will have some interesting pieces of information. Now, that's a project that's a little bit further away, um, but we have a lot of people talking about it, and looking forward to that option. Now, from an innovation perspective specifically, One thing that I'll mention is we have a we one of the things that's difficult about managing a city is that there's no standards for. There are some standards, but they're not well accepted for actually connecting data that the city generates in a way that's meaningful. So we've been working in building an open source platform that's called Open Space OS. That's actually looking to actually take the data that the city creates or city creates and making it available to other cities with the same technology, so that we can get they can use it, and then we can maybe see how that helps us as a group, kind of like sharing some of that innovation. So two things that are physical, the art installation, the Lake Nona West, and then a open source software to actually allow other environments to share data that their city produces in the same way that we do.
But there's another one, right? There's something in the air transportation field.
Oh yes, yeah, we have but that's we announced that a while back, but yes,
Yeah, but for the folks that are new to the area, that
yeah,
are
we
visiting
have
us,
so this Orlando Aerotropolis that's formed between Lake Nona and the airport will be the home of the first vertical takeoff and landing um, airport in the U.S. So flying cars, basically, right? You have the idea of this electric vertical takeoff and landing um, vehicles that will be able to move 6 passengers and a pilot. We're doing them in partnership with Lilium and the airport. Um, that's a project that's ongoing, that's been ongoing for a while, but we have, this area will be, this or Aerotropolis will be the host for some of those very innovative ways to travel.
which is exciting. I mean, 6 passenger plus a pilot, electric,
Electric, yep.
fully electric, so a range of what, somewhere between 100 to 200 miles.
Yep. Right now they're working on 180 miles, which would connect them to anywhere in Florida. So we're looking forward to that. And, the team there from the airport and from Lilium are working very closely with the FAA to make that a reality.
Anybody have any other questions for Juan? We got one here.
Yes, we know that Lake Nona is a great space, also that you said, where there's a lot of people coming in from all over the places. And I live here now like for a couple of years, and what I really strong is about Lake Nona is that because there are so many people from different cultures coming in here, there's also a lot of technology. So I was also thinking, can we also use Lake Nona as a testing hub where people can testing from all over the places, can testing technology? Because something what is very important by technology is that you can test with a broad audience and that you can create data, which is one of the most important in technology to scale and also to get data to improve your product. So I was wondering, do you also see Lake Nona in the future as testing hubs where everybody can use, for example, testing your app or your virtual reality experience? So we give you the room for innovation as the testing hubs in Lake Nona. Do you also see something that this is kind of in the future for Lake Nona?
Yeah, definitely. So the core question is, can we use? I mean, how are we thinking of using Lake Nona as a testing ground? Um, we have in the past, the companies that are part of the accelerator that we're in, a lot of their technologies are used in pieces of Lake Nona. And we've done 3 large-scale tests in the area. One is ongoing. There's a longitudinal health study called the Lake Nona Life Project, which has been running for 7 years, which is collecting health data and analyzing how the built environment and living in a community like ours affects health. We recently did a test with a company that came out of the MIT Media Lab, who was testing a bionic shoe. Uh, it's kind of cool. It's like a bionic shoe. And then we did a test as a launch environment for um, a sleep tracking application where we use it in the community. So yes, the answer is we will continue to use that. Now we want to make it easier for people to use, like known as that. And part of the idea of releasing this thing that we have to open source is that we will allow developers and entrepreneurs to understand data about like Nona in a way that makes it easier for them to deploy technologies. But that's I mean, that's kind of like the invitation we always make, which is if people have a good idea and we can be helpful in that idea and it's compatible with what we're trying to do here, um, we'll do our best to facilitate using the environment as a living lab. Um, you know, this facility that we're in actually is continuously seeing different uses. We we for example have Orlando Magic NBA 2K team. They play and live here. So we have professional esports people. We really that was an area where we didn't have a lot of experience, but once they were here, some people from the Lake Nona Performance School working with them developed a training regime to actually help professional gamers or people that are in the esports space to actually be better at what they do. It's a mixture of mental and physical training. I think it's called it's called Game Ready, and it's a test of how that works. And we just happen to have some cool professional gamers to engage in the system and see how it works. And apparently, it works well.
Yeah, it's working well. You inadvertently given 2 plugs to my podcast. So that's episode 34 and episode 30. Clint Grauman was just here. I just saw him from View.
Yeah.
So, which are also here in this space. And then there's this concentric relationship of innovation awareness, because even though, and correct me if I'm wrong, even though they may not be directly tied to the innovation, there's a lot of innovation happening in the VA right behind us, right? And they happen to be here. Like Nona is one of the most advanced VA, if not the most advancst VA in the country,
Yeah.
right? And they see 8,000 patients a day or something like that. So they are here for obvious reasons. It has to be a confined ecosystem, but nevertheless, there are projects, opening, partnerships and relationships for companies to work with them
Definitely.
in that space.
As a matter of fact, some of our startups have worked with the VA, have actually worked with them, and we have great relations. One of the things that people say about Orlando, and I've heard both Mayor Dyer and other people in the staff talk about it, the mayor of Orlando, is that we're super collaborative. And normally I take things like that with a grain of salt because but I found that in Orlando that's very true. This is a very collaborative space, and we actually double down in Lake Nona. We actually have environments where we invite all the people that are in HR to talk to each other, in IT to talk to each other. We do an IT pizza night, and then we do like a CEO breakfast where we get all the CEOs in the area together. Because even though you think that the person that's running Drive Shack is a golf game kind of like environment, and the person that's running the VA have very different views. The IT people are worried about cybersecurity. The HR people are worried about working from home and working and retaining manuals. CEOs are worried about kind of, working on how the debt interest rates have changed, insurance rates have changed. So you find a lot of opportunity for people to talk, and then we are trying to do things like this to actually bring a little bit more of the entrepreneur community and see where that we can really connect to each other. We've had situations where in some of our product events, we've businesses that have been created. There's someone's talking to someone, and they kind of like what they're doing, and it becomes a business. I like one story that we have for this space, which is we have a group of, let's call them serial entrepreneurs, that are part of the ecosystem here. That have done many companies and have been very successful at those companies. And they're experts at what they do, and they were being, let's call them mentors to some of the companies that were here. And about a year ago, this two guys, one that has 480 patents in the world of light. His name is Fred Masick, and Mike Miller, who's one of the founders of Leapfrog and the toy company, and the Disney Imagineer. They came up with a product that's actually part of the accelerator. And on one hand, they were helping some of the other companies build some of their products as mentors. On the other hand, they were creating of their own. That product is now used by the Lake Nona Performance Club and by the House and Clinic, great orthopedic surgeon up there, Dr. Wright. She's actually using the product. So it creates kind of like this ecosystem where something that came out of a good idea with good people actually ends up being utilized in the community. So
Fantastic. Any other questions from anybody? We're almost out of time.
Hi, so you talked about Lake Nona being a city of like continuous innovation, and I was curious. I had two quick questions, I guess. One was, what are your, is it okay? What are your greatest obstacles in continuous innovation? To what are your greatest surpluses or strengths?
okay, the first part of the question was what are the
Obstacles.
What are
obstacles?
your
Okay.
greatest obstacles?
Look, the challenge that we have with innovation, the main challenge I believe we have with innovation is that it runs out very quickly. I mean, what's innovative today is not innovative tomorrow. Um, so pursuing innovation as a north star, it's something that requires continuous work. So I think the biggest obstacle is making sure we have a lot of friends and a lot of partners that are peddling that innovation ecosystem. Um, what's good though is that we have two things that are kind of like our like secret powers, right? One is we have a place where innovators can talk to each other and they can, come up with their ideas and develop. And the second one is that there is an existing infrastructure that is growing that helps those innovators actually bring ideas to market and work together. So I would say the obstacle is that it's the cliff is always this. It's not like it starts to plateau. It's always the same. You're always pedaling up, and it's always the same inclination, right? So you have to continuously, I don't know, get a new person to take on the bike so you can continue climbing. But the opportunity is that the more people that are doing it, and we have a pretty decent critical mass now, the more we're able to actually make it easier. There's more people helping you push that bicycle up the mountain, I guess. Same metaphor.
No, that's a great metaphor. Well, Juan, I want to thank you for your time, for allowing me to do this with you here,
On the contrary,
and to stream this to folks. It will be recorded. We'll use it, in some way or fashion for the community, for everything you do here in the space. Thank you all for coming, and feel free to hang out. We have now a networking hour. We have some drinks and some snacks, and as we get ready the music for the rest of the evening. Thank you for being here.
and then just to close on that really quick, if you guys have any idea this is us doing serving as the guinea pigs for this. What we will do is, we'll create a cadence for this, right? Every 2 months is what we're thinking, and then we'll bring interesting speakers from the community or from outside in a variety of different topics. If you have a topic or a friend that you'd like to put here and it's interesting for what we're doing, that'd be awesome. And I want to thank you, Rafael, for leading this. I'll do one more plug for Rafa's podcast. It's called Three Thoughts On. It's in all the podcasting platforms. But Rafael has actually interviewed many of the people that actually make Lake Nona tick. He focuses on many subjects, but part of the conversations that he's had that are very interesting are actually with people that are in the ecosystem. I think we have at least 7 or 8.
14.
Thank you. 14. You can see this was not planned. We have a ton of people that are from the community that have participated, so you can get a little bit of a better view of what's happening in McDonald's. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh.